Max Verstappen may be very close to leaving Red Bull for Mercedes. And no, this is not just loose internet speculation. These are reliable sources, official statements, and behind-the-scenes movements that show that this bomb has already started to detonate. Toto Wolff, the brains behind Mercedes, is putting together his board for 2026, and at the center of the game is none other than Verstappen, the man who has dominated the category in recent years, but who is now experiencing a more turbulent season. And with his possible arrival at Mercedes, the most uncomfortable question begins to echo around the paddock. Who's out? George Russell or rookie Antonelli? Or will Mercedes do the unthinkable? So stay until the end of the video so you don't miss any details. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel. And what seemed like just a passing rumor has been gaining shape, strength, and now has a name, a face, and even a date for a decision. Max Verstappen and Mercedes, the most explosive flirtation of the 2025 season. It all started subtly, as is usually the case with major Formula One moves. But little by little, what was just buzz became a serious topic among team bosses, made it to the international press, and even received behind-the-scenes confirmation from Toto Wolff himself. Yes, the Austrian did not deny it. On the contrary, he stated in no uncertain terms that there is indeed a conversation taking place, discreet, behind the scenes, but with great potential to reconfigure the category's hierarchy from 2026 onwards. The first clue came shortly after the Monaco GP, when journalists from Sky Sports Italy they claimed that negotiations between Verstappen and Mercedes not only existed, but were already at an advanced stage. Initially, this sounded like a move to pressure Red Bull and alleviate the damage caused by the crisis with Christian Horner. But the timing of the publication drew attention. Verstappen was experiencing a moment of internal tension amid the collapse of the leadership unit at Red Bull, and was beginning to show signs of frustration with the project for the new regulations. Toto Wolff, who had already flirted with Max back in 2014, when he tried to sign him before the Dutchman signed with the Red Bull program, came back to the attack. And this time, with a proposal more in line with what Verstappen wants: political freedom, a team built around him, and a less radioactive environment than the current one. In an interview with The Times, Wolff was blunt. There are a lot of conversations going on behind the scenes. Although he didn't mention Verstappen by name, the tone of his statement and the timing of the statement clearly indicated who he was talking about. Days later, in Austria, Verstappen was asked about the possibility of joining Mercedes, and his answer was even more surprising. "I'm committed to Red Bull for now." This measured, almost rehearsed pause was all the press needed to turn the rumor into a headline. And what's more, a performance clause Max's contract with Red Bull, revealed by sources close to the team, states that if he is out of the top 4 by the European summer, that is, by August, he can activate a loophole to terminate his contract without contractual penalties. And at this moment, Verstappen occupies exactly the 3rd place in the Drivers' World Championship. In other words, he is technically within the limit, but dangerously close to the limit. 1 or 2 bad races could be the trigger for this clause to be triggered. Mercedes, aware of this, is monitoring it closely. It is no wonder that Toto Wolff has declared that he will make his decision on the 2026 driver lineup by the end of the European summer. And in the meantime, Verstappen is playing for time. He is not closing doors, but he is not compromising either. The truth is that the 3-time world champion knows the weight he has in the market. And after almost a decade within the Red Bull system, he is starting to look outside more carefully, especially now that the environment around Horner has become unsustainable, with accusations, internal disputes, and the growing feeling that the team is fragmenting from within. Verstappen also sees another strategic detail in this move. Mercedes has been quietly rebuilding itself. It already has the promising Andrea Kimi Antonelli developing, is preparing its own engine for 2026, and is investing heavily in infrastructure and technical personnel. All of this points to a new cycle, a cycle in which Max could be the center, and no longer just a piece of a project that revolves around Red Bull's energy. And it's worth remembering, Max Verstappen is not just an exceptional driver. He is a marketing asset, a commercial force, a character who redefines the image of the team he represents. Toto Wolff knows this, and he is willing to do whatever it takes to have him by his side. And what do you think about this? Should Toto Wolff continue with his duo, Russell and Antonelli? Or would the right thing be to make changes and Max Verstappen take the place of one of the two? Leave your comments below. With the possible arrival of Max Verstappen at Mercedes, the first inevitable impact will fall on the current structure of the team, and we are not just talking about the driver lineup, but the internal environment, the management policy, and even the relationship between technical and strategic departments. When a figure of Verstappen's stature joins the team, the balance changes instantly. Toto Wolff knows this, and that's why every step is being calculated with surgical precision. The Mercedes boss has made it clear that he will make the final decision by the European summer of 2025. The first sign of unrest came in the form of internal tension. More specifically, among the names that now make up Mercedes' long-term project, George Russell and Andrea Kimi Antonelli. With Lewis Hamilton's contract ending at the end of 2024 and his transfer to Ferrari already finalized, Russell has taken on the role of natural leader of the team this season. And although he is not winning races often, he has been consistent and represents the link between the old guard of Mercedes and the generation that is coming. However, Verstappen's shadow represents a real threat to this leadership. After all, if Max arrives, he will not come to be a supporting actor, and much less to share technical status within the team. He demands a team around him, and that is exactly what Toto Wolff may be willing to offer. Before I continue, leave a like and subscribe to the channel so that the YouTube algorithm recommends this video, and let's go. This puts George Russell in an extremely delicate position. Although his contract runs until the end of 2025, the climate of uncertainty has increased considerably, and sources close to the team already indicate that the Briton is looking for alternatives in the market in case he is overlooked. According to journalist Martin Brundle from Sky Sports, Russell would be concerned about the backstage at Mercedes and holding talks with rivals such as Aston Martin and, to a lesser extent, Ferrari. The fear of losing the place is not unfounded, especially because Antonelli's name has also entered the radar. The Italian, only 17 years old, considered the greatest promise in F1 since Charles Leclerc, is being quietly prepared to take over a full cockpit in 2026, and many within Mercedes believe that his rise is only a matter of time. But then comes the big equation that Toto Wolff needs to solve. If Verstappen enters, what would be the ideal pair to accompany you? Keeping Russell would be a safe choice, given his experience and alignment with the team's values. But he won't accept being a second driver, and neither will Max forming a Verstappen-Russell duo may sound spectacular on paper, but in practice it represents a ticking time bomb in terms of ego management. The Verstappen-Antonelli option, on the other hand, brings a more traditional dynamic, an established leader alongside a promising youngster who is still in the learning phase. This configuration would allow Mercedes to maintain its focus on developing the car and building a new cycle of technical dominance, while Verstappen carries the weight of responsibility on the track and Antonelli learns from the best. Another little discussed but extremely relevant point is the political impact of the possible signing of Verstappen. Toto Wolff, who in addition to being team principal is also a shareholder in Mercedes F1, knows that bringing in such a big name reinforces the team's power at the table of major decisions in the category. With Max, Mercedes once again has an active voice not only on the track, but also behind the scenes at the FIA, FOM, in regulation negotiations, and in commercial agreements with global sponsors. This is crucial for a team that has seen its influence diminish in the last 2 years, especially with the rise of Red Bull and the reorganization of Ferrari. But tell me, what did you think of this video? Comment below because I want to know your opinion, and like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything.